that's another one that's also we welcome on board as our sponsor member, Nielsen Media. So I'm not doing a really good job and doing shout outs, so I want to make sure that next time can actually fully recognize our sponsor members either during the show, in our newsletter, or on our social posts. So without further ado, let's invite our next special guest. It's actually a late speaker review. We only confirmed her appearance on the festival, I think just a couple of hours ago, but it's always a pleasure to have new faces and appearing on our screen, right? And it's a beautiful lady by the name of Yashika. Hi, how are you?
I'm well. How are you? Thank you, Wayne.
You set up your mic in double quick time because half an hour ago you were still talking to me without a mic, and here you are. Where did you get your mic from?
We are in a podcasting world. You got to do what you got to do, right?
Exactly. Find resources and just masking tape stuff together. That's what podcasters are great at, improvise.
Improvise. So I was like, okay, while Wine is just here around, let me just get this together.
Fantastic. So tell us where you are, tell us what you do, and of course, Voice of Achievers, right, is something that is really unique, and I think it's really interesting for us to be able to talk to you as well and introduce you to our Podfest Asia community. So tell us the story about Voice of Achievers.
Okay, so I think the story of Voice of Achievers began with me going back a few years when there is this time when all of us experience this stage where there is career confusion. We call it the quarter life crisis nowadays. There's a midlife crisis, and then there's the quarter life crisis where there's enough and more confusion around what career choices one should make. There's self-doubt. There's confusion with respect to what are the experiences, what are the skills we need to have, who should one reach out to. So that's when I was like, I sense that there is a gap between the experienced few who have like enormous experience across various diverse fields, and the ones who are just starting out, who know, they ultimately end up reaching out to the ones that they possibly know, friends or relatives or friends of friends maybe, but connecting the right people with the experienced few who've already walked that path. So that was the intent behind this. And I was like, so I come with an HR and communications and content background. So the idea began with me wanting to write because I have editorial experience. So I was like, okay, let's just start a blog. But then that's when podcasting was just right up there and fairly new. So I was like, okay, this is the right time to maybe pick up the skill while doing it and also reach out to the youth in ways that they will be listening to the content, because nobody really wants to read with the attention span that they have now. So who wants to read? Even the news that they read is like bite-sized content in a few sentences and you're done. So yes, that's the story. That's the backstory.
Fantastic story. And of course, during this one-to-one conversation with you, I want to ask you a few questions, especially, your superhero stories. I know that you told lots of stories during your interviews with your guests on your show. So tell us maybe from the beginning, what ignited your passion about podcasting in the first place?
I think this possibly goes back to my childhood and perhaps anybody's childhood, where they've heard the grandma's stories. We call it Dadi Nani ki kahaniyan in Hindi. But the grandma stories, that the moments that we all cherish, where you're in the moment, you're listening to the bedtime stories, and you're sort of creating your own stories in your imagination, because listening provides you that space of imagination and putting in your experiences and your thoughts into that. So that's where this audio storytelling experience or idea came about, because that's how you've grown up listening to audio stories. I think across cultures, possibly, we love listening to bedtime stories, and that puts us to a calm, good night's sleep. So what's better than listening to people, their experiences, their stories in their own voices?
Brilliant. And of course, I want to also move on to talk about the influencers, right? Because these days, many are saying that podcasters are also the new breed of social media influencers. And recently, I think you posted something on LinkedIn about why the influencer that you follow must provide sources of the information that they share. If not, you need to actually revisit who to follow. So is this something that you do quite consistently in terms of like really making sure that you are following the right influencers? Can you explain to us why they must always provide
I
sources
get
or
that.
information that is
I get that. So I think that comes from the idea that once you've possibly had like a brush with academia, and you know the importance and the relevance of research and citing the right sources, that's when you feel that it's so relevant in the culture and the times we live today. Um, we are following pretty much anybody and everybody, and there's so much content available that you really don't know that the people you're following, where is the information coming from? Are they well sourced? Are they able to cite the right sources? Do they know are they making generalizations, or is this based on data? Now data can be numerical, it can be experiential, it could be all kinds of data, but is there data backing that information, or is it just a perspective? Now there's that difference between fact and story. So I breathe is a fact, but I'm feeling really good today is my experience. So we really need to be very mindful of, in the times that we are living, that where are these stories coming from? Are they experienced perspectives, and what we should be taking away from those experiences? That's why all the podcasts that go out are strictly experiences of those people. Now they may be their stories, and they may not be your reality. So there's that difference that one needs to be slightly mindful of or aware of. And of course, the fact that now, if I'm talking to Wine, I know that mine comes from a marketing background, and if I spoke to you about marketing, I know for a fact that there will be hell number of years of experience that help you make those generalizations. So your comments come from experienced and research perspectives, whereas me just fiddling with marketing a little bit and saying that this is what it is, that's not true, right?
100%. And I have to ask you about the followers that or the influencers that you follow. Are they primarily podcasters, or you have a good mix of social media influencers that you follow?
So one of the very senior people in the storytelling community had told me once that try and get a blend of five different people. There's that saying, no, the five different people from five diverse backgrounds make up who you are or who you would be. So no, not only podcasters, because I come from the HR community. A lot many people from the HR community, from communications, from academia, from literature, from cinema, from various backgrounds, actually. Just so many different backgrounds, because even the ones that I'm possibly not comfortable with, financial background. My husband comes from a financial background, and I simply don't understand that. But yet that diverse mix uh, brings in different perspectives and ultimately shapes you into who you are.
So moving away from this social media or social influencers, right, topic, I understand that you interview experienced individuals across diverse fields, all fields that you just mentioned, in order to help the youth navigate career-related challenges, right? So
Right.
your podcast draws on deep motivations, disappointments, gender, culture, literature, and cinema to help to decode career and workplace insights. So, what are some of the biggest wins of doing this podcast, either for yourself as the producer, the host, and also for your listeners? What are the biggest wins for them as well?
I feel that because there is the psychology background, I try and dwell deep into intrinsic motivation. So, in psychology, and in fact, in many other management practices, you may have, in fact, managed in marketing as well. There is the Maslow's hierarchy, right? Where you have those 5 stages, and then you ultimately want to reach that flow, the what we call self actualization, and you want to ultimately be satisfied with the kind of work that you're doing, with the life that you're living. So it's like a holistic perspective. You just want to be in the flow of work, in the flow of life. So I think a few of the things that I try and delve into are uh, disappointments. Where are the times when there was self doubt? Where are the times when what are the factors that motivated one, and how does one keep going? There are sometimes artists, there are cartoonists who are doing wonderful work, and there are times when it's challenging to keep up. What do you then do? What drives you then when it may not be truly financial, right? There may be higher motivations than that. There's also so many other things that involve maybe emotional well-being. There is culture, there is diversity, there is gender. So in the workplace, when you're right out of college and just getting into the workplace, it's a complete shift. What you have been surrounded with, and what ultimately ends up happening with you is a complete shift of space, of people actually. So how do you blend in, and do you really need to blend in, or can you still hold your ground while also being in cohesion with everyone else? Are the few things that I try and decode.
Fantastic. And by decoding this, you're providing them answers. And I think the challenges faced by all these young professionals, right, it's actually heightened as a result of the pandemic, because they are unable to get this human-to-human connection which they normally get when they get to travel to the office and actually work all day long at the office, and have all these moments where they are able to learn from the seniors, right? Now they don't have opportunity because they don't even go to the workplace anymore, working from home. So they're isolated, and the only time that they get to actually even get check-in from their seniors or their supervisors is when they actually have Zoom time. And Zoom time is not always in your face, right? It's probably only like half an hour to an hour maximum for many young professionals. So do you also, have these sort of conversations with these young professionals on how they're dealing with the pandemic and how they function in the workplace, and being able to actually learn from those people that they're now missing out on because as a result of working from home?
Absolutely. I agree with you. And I think we as people, as individuals, we thrive when we are around people. There is a different sort of an energy. Now, imagine when you and I are talking like this. Of course, there is the energy flow and we are in the moment. But imagine if you and I were sitting together in the same room, like right in front of each other, the energy would have been completely different. There are so many other things that you pick from the energy around you in the room. There's learning, there is a feeling of internal feeling of support, that okay, they are in the same boat as I am, maybe, or they're figuring it out, maybe I can too. So yes, and with the heightened with the situation after the pandemic, things have gotten worse. In fact, one is in touch with various college students and young working professionals, and it's really hard for them to keep up. And by keep up, there is such an emotional pressure of one delivering and holding your professional ground, while on the other hand you also want to take away so many other experiences from the college, from the workplace. So that goes missing. So trying and figuring out those little things that go missing, and how we can get them and put them together, and at least form a puzzle which looks like fairly decent in the frame.
Right. Okay. And of course, they are losing out more than just water cooler moments with their senior colleagues, right? So sometimes I also empathize with young professionals, especially those who are trying to make a dent and impact early on in their career. But of course, they have to grind just like the rest of us. We also have to grind our way, either up through the corporate ladder or on our entrepreneurial journey. So these are the struggles that will actually help them to learn better. And of course, I understand you have also bite-sized podcasts called the New India Youth Pod, right? That was or that is a podcast that you did or produced in collaboration with MyGov India. So may I ask you, what's the difference in terms of producing a podcast for Voice of Achievers and also producing a podcast, New India Your Pod Microcast? So how's the difference in experience for you, and which one do you prefer actually?
Both are relatively, although both deal with the youth. One is extremely deep. So when the Voice of Achievers podcast happens, it's extremely deep. It's a 40 to 50-minute conversation, and I got deep into the journey of the individual. It could be an entrepreneur, a professional, an artist. It could be a sports person. Whereas with the New India Youth Pod, the idea is to pick. This began during the pandemic, so the idea is to pick the challenges and the little things that young people go through, and sort of, this is because this is bite-sized content and quick content that one can consume. um, it's more, what should I say, you can just snack on it. It's snackable content, so you can just snack on it and yet be informed. So you just listen to it and you're done. You feel like, okay, so there were a couple of podcasts that we did. We've done a recent one on with somebody who ran. He's a runner. So what does it take for him to keep up with his running schedules, and what can we take from his experiences? So those are very quick ones, whereas the Voice of Achievers ones are extremely deep, where we go into each aspect of one's career, professional life, sometimes even personal life, depending on how comfortable they are.
So even though they are bite-sized and very snackable, right? It doesn't mean that they are easier to produce and easier to make, because we all know, like, for example, TikTok video, a really good TikTok video.
It's harder.
Even more, requires even more effort and time to make it right? So less doesn't mean actually means more effort. So do you actually prefer to make microcasts or the deep, longer version podcast that we're all so used to?
Funnily, both are an extremely enriching experience for me, because with the MyGov ones, I also there is also a lot of Hindi involved, or the vernacular language involved, because you want to reach a wider audience. Even with Voice of Achievers now, I started making it more Hinglish. We call that Hinglish, just to make it more accessible to various other cities and communities and people from various backgrounds. So yes, when you're saying shorter content is harder to produce, yes, it is, because you need to get out the information and you need it crystal clear, but you need it crisp as well. So that's where the editing skills come into play.
Who listens to these shows? What kind of download numbers are you getting, and how long have you been doing these podcasts?
This has been around for over 2 years, and with the MyGov podcast, the distribution lies with them. So I know about the downloads of the Voice of Achievers podcast, and I can tell you that it is anything ranging between 3,000 and 5,000 downloads per month, and it increases by the month. So
that's fantastic. I think for anyone who just started podcasting, right, now, normally they are worried about download numbers. And of course, it's something that is actually not that important, especially if you just want to ensure that your podcast reach out to certain demographic, right? If your target audience, are only certain niche down, subsection of a community, right? It doesn't matter, that you get millions of downloads, per week. So I think what you're doing is for a very just cause, because you're reaching out to the youth. And of course, these youth are tuning in the thousands to your show. They get a lot of benefit from it. And of course, why is there a sense of joy in speaking to people on your podcast who derive their motivation from customer satisfaction that they witness every day? Can you maybe tell us and expand a bit on that?
So because I come from a human resource and HR and organizational behavior background, I thrive on uh, people and people experiences. I love speaking to people, understanding these different challenges that they possibly face. So yes, because motivation is something that is hard for us to decode. Uh, Achievement motivation is just so difficult to decode. To each his own or her own, right? There are certain things that drive you, and there may be certain different things that drive me. So it's very interesting when collective experiences come together and they actually, so to say, shape you as a personality. So in the times that I have started podcasting, I have seen immense growth and development internally because your perspectives broaden. The way you look at the world is different. It's just understanding different. I mean, imagine, come to think of when in 2 days that the number of guests that you're speaking to, uh, I think when you sit back and relax after the 2 days, you will possibly be a different person altogether. So that's what it does to us, right? To ask you what is your motivation, I'm sure it will be with connected with the people, or connected with how people come together, and multicultural experiences sort of shape you better, right?
100%. And before we let you go, I want to ask you one last question. Why your Voice of Achievers podcast is peppered with so many different flavors? You know, I have a sense there's the old Calcutta's charm. There are also stories from literature, even Chomsky, by the way, culture, gender, and cinema. Is there any reason why it's geared towards all these different flavors?
So yes, well, Calcutta, because that's the space that I was born and brought up in. So there's accessibility. So that's ease of accessibility. But yet there are various other cultures, and there's also been a few international speakers from various countries. So why gender? Why culture? Why society? Why cinema? I think all of these put together are stuff that you will require, whether you're a professional, whether you're an entrepreneur, in the workplace, in life, in general. These are the things that you need to be sensitive about, you need to know about. These are the things that you need to have different perspectives about. So I always say this, that what someone is saying may not be what you agree with. There are so many times that I also disagree with the achievers coming in and the people that I interview. But it's not about agreement; it's about perspective. You get to listen to their perspective, you get to listen to their worldview, and that comes from their experiences. And because it's someone's personal experience, you put them together, and so many experiences together will ultimately clearly shape you as a personality, and you grow. So you're also on that path of self-actualization, right? So that's also there. But yes, these factors put together do make up the workplace, do make you a better professional, do make you a better student, do make you a better person. So hence the various socio-cultural aspects that or themes that I do end up touching upon.
I think we still have 2 minutes, so I'm going to squeeze in one last question. One final question, I promise.
Okay.
I understand that India is actually the top growing podcast markets in the world, not just Asia, yeah, in the world. It's the fastest growing. So in terms of like new adults who listen to podcasts in India every week, it's in the millions, yeah, and it's top rank #1 in the world. So tell us about in India, what's the podcasting landscape like, and do you see any exciting development other than all this data, right? All these ranking results that are showing up everywhere on our socials. When you look around India, for example, in the city that you live, do you really see a lot of podcasters now joining the space to provide more supply of great podcast shows like your Voice of Achievers podcast? Do you also see many people that you know, including your family and friends and your peers, right, listening to more and more podcasts lately?
Yes, definitely I do. And given the screen time that now we are sort of akin to, it's just a welcome change, right? You put off the screen and you can still listen to the stories, and you can still get your information. You can still get your pop culture. You can still get entertainment. You can still get edutainment. So do I know many other people listening? Yes. In the country, more and more people are. From the time that I began, when I used to say that I'm podcasting, to now, how people react to, oh, podcasting, okay, so now they know what this is actually. So also the fact probably that we have known the radio as a medium of storytelling, so that also possibly helps people to jump onto podcasts. And this one being a more personalized experience which you can access from anywhere. There's commute time, there's your gym time, there's your home chore time, anything and everything. In fact, we came up we going to be launching like a podcasting competition for young creators, young students, young working professionals to come together and try and explore the medium for storytelling, because that's what we are heading to. We are heading to a voice first space.
This is fantastic and really exciting for us in the rest of Asia as well, because of course you guys are the trendsetters in terms of leading the charts now for the fastest growth in podcasting. So I actually, I'm looking forward to joining or to actually run an event in India in the near future. So I'm not sure what's the pandemic situation like over there, but I think it will be very soon, before I set foot in India and actually say hello to you and your community, all your youth listeners, right, that you're attracting to your Youth Pod and, of course, your Voice of Achievers podcast. So thank you very much for coming on, Yashika. Any last message for our audience before we say goodbye?
Keep listening, keep learning, and yeah, thanks, Vine, for bringing so many podcasters together. I think this initiative itself will possibly uplift the community and bring the idea of podcasting to the community, to Asia. It's so lovely that you're doing this.
Thank you so much, and thanks for your nice words and lovely, compliments. I'll take it. I always love compliments. So
One
thanks
should
again,
take it.
Yashika. We hope to see you back again, maybe in our next month's festival, and you can tell us, what's going on with the youth in India and more updates from you. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks. Thanks, Vine.
Bye bye. See ya.